Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Friday morning. It's October 8th, 2021. We do get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings, but I do want to bring attention that we are having our annual staff training on Monday and Tuesday of next week. So our offices will be closed. The phones will be answered, but all of our staff will be in Arizona at our annual staff training. And so that's agenda item number one. So this happens once a year as we kind of wrap up current year and plan for the year ahead. So please be patient with us, and then we'll resume normal operations on Wednesday. So be aware of that. Today's topic is going to be on overcoming objections. So on the left-hand side of my screen, you should see our agenda that I emailed out to you this morning. And the right-hand side, I just have a web browser open just in case I need to refer to anything for you. So this is going to be really interactive. We want to dig deep into the objections or challenges that you may be facing so we can address them for you and for others. So I've listed a few that we've heard recently, but again, I'd like you in the question and answer function of Zoom, like chat, to go ahead and submit in objections or challenges that you're facing so we can go through them this morning. Interest rates is bullet number one. Now, when could a client face interest rates? So again, let's just do a quick summary. Access to capital, guaranteed $100,000 capital raise, no upfront cost to enroll, no minimum credit score to enroll, no minimum time in business to enroll. We work primarily through our white label partners, but we also have affiliates. How the client comes in determines who is handling them, but the process is the same. The client comes in, we submit it in, we send them the one-page funding proposal via Adobe. They complete that, it comes back to us, and then we look for their funding offers. Are we shotgunning their credit? No. Are we creating multiple inquiries? No, no hard inquiries. We're just simply looking at the different bank and lender partners we work with to see who can get the client the best initial round of funding, first tranche financing. Now, so that's the first opportunity that a client, I guess, could have an issue with interest rates, which is our point right here, is let's say that what they were qualified for as first tranche financing isn't very attractive to them. So here's how I would explain it to you, and then you could decide how to explain it to them if you're a white label partner, or we do that if it's an affiliate-led submission. We don't control interest rates. We do not help clients get better interest rates. We cannot get them to have more expensive interest rates. Clients qualify for market rates. Now, I know that sometimes people don't realize that. So like if you go to a car dealership, it varies by state law, but in Texas, for example, where we are, if you go into a car dealership and apply for financing through the car dealership, they can add 2 percentage points to the loan, and that's their profit. So I understand that that takes place in some aspects of the financial world, but we do not make any money off the interest rates. We don't make the interest rates higher or lower. People get what they qualify for. Now, granted, they come to us, you and I work with them, we help them improve their financial literacy, we help them build their loan package, we help them increase access to capital and get at least 100,000. So I understand that big picture, but just clarify, you and I don't have anything to do with the interest rates. So on the first tranche financing, they will be presented with what they've been offered. And what they're being offered is based upon their credibility, not your credibility, not my credibility, their credibility. So in terms of the first tranche finance, and I guess I'm kind of mixing these two first bullets, forgive me, is that if they get an offer, most of our clients, at least many of our clients, are going to get many offers for first tranche financing, not just one. They may get 10, 20, or 30 offers that they can choose from. But those are offers based upon their credibility, not your credibility, not my credibility, their credibility. Now, are we going to work with them to improve their credibility and fundability as they go forward in the process? Of course. But in the beginning, it's all them. So if they do not like the terms that they get offered for their first tranche financing, whether it be the amount. We've had clients that say, well, I need at least 20,000 for my first tranche financing. Okay, well, let's see what the marketplace says. Some of them get 20,000 or more. Some of them don't get 20,000. But again, it's based upon their credibility, not your credibility, not my credibility, their credibility. We're getting started. We want to get them at least 2,500, so that'll cover the refundable deposit, so you get paid, and so we can go build their loan package. So the interest rates will vary based upon clients' credibility. If they don't like what interest rates are being offered or the amount that's being offered, they don't have to accept that for first tranche financing, do they? If they don't like what we can make available for them, they can pay their refundable deposit out of pocket, or they can use some other means of financing if they prefer. I mean, we've got over 30 different banks that are competing for their business, but if they can get a better deal somewhere else, then that's okay. Often, quite frankly, what we see, it's people with really poor credit or low credibility, and they'll come back and say, well, I don't want to pay 12% interest rate. Well, can you get a better interest rate with your current credibility, your current fundability somewhere else? No. Well, that's the best available. I mean, you've brought the baggage with you. We're dealing with that. So what's the point I want to take away? When someone is concerned about the interest rate, say, well, you're not required to accept any round of funding. We're not getting a power of attorney and pretending to be them, and then all of a sudden they're stuck with some interest rate. That would be shady. That doesn't happen. So they're going to get offers. They can accept or decline that offer. And if they feel that they can get better offers, then we can use their source of capital. That's fine. We're not a bank. We're not competing against them. And then similarly, on the first tranche of financing, we can get anyone, let's say it again, we can get anyone at least $2,500. And that's an important amount because that's at least enough to cover the refundable deposit. I'll tell you, I had a guy this week. He signed up for first tranche financing, and he's desperate. I mean, almost every day we'll get someone that contacts us, sometimes referral partners, sometimes just clients, and they're desperate. I mean, I need $6,000 tomorrow. Well, great. If you qualify for $6,000 tomorrow, we can help you. Let's go ahead and dig in. But this is a nice transition point to, oh, it's just a scam. Well, typically the people that would even start to suggest that our model is a scam is because they have either financial illiteracy or unrealistic expectations. You know, it's that person that signs up and says, okay, well, you know, I didn't get $50,000 for my first tranche financing. This is a scam. It's like, well, no, you don't qualify for $50,000. We'll work with you. We'll help you build your 3 C's. We'll help you build your financial literacy. We'll help you build your loan package. We'll help you get to at least 100,000. We've promised to do that. But just because in your mind, you think that you deserve $5 million within 30 days, doesn't mean that you necessarily will get $5 million in 30 days. If you're qualified for that, we can help you do that. If not, we may need to improve qualifications or go through tranches to get to that 7-figure number. Anytime that someone suggests, oh, your model's a scam, I'm quick to ask, well, what specifically do you mean? Because usually people are, some people are desperate, so they get all volatile. Some people are just ignorant. And I don't mean that it's like an insult, that they're just not smart. Some people are financially illiterate. But to say, and I welcome your feedback, you know, like, what is it that we do that you would say is a scam? Because we really do 3 things. We help build financial literacy. Well, we do that over 4 modules, typically over 4 weeks, using award-winning curriculum. We have white labeled YouTube videos. We have participant guides and instructor guides covering things like business plans, business credit, financial statements, money in banking. It's like, what about our financial literacy could you say is a scam? The answer is 0. Oh, okay, no. So that's not a scam. Okay, so the second thing we do is we help small businesses build loan packages. From the time that they submit their refundable deposit, we get started. We use Live Plan, which is a great cloud-based software for business plans and financial projections. We help them build their personal financial statements. We help them put together their balance sheet and income statement. I mean, what about that? What about building a loan package as a scam? Well, no, it's not. It's not. Okay, so then there's the third thing that we do, which is provide access to capital. We guarantee a minimum of 100,000. We can help anyone get at least their first 2,500, regardless how bad their credit or income is, through one of the offerings for the first tranche of financing. We promise in writing, as everything in our agreement is, we'll continue to work with you to get to at least 100,000. We're not going to give up on you. You're not going to disqualify. You just need to engage, participate, and do what you said you do. So typically when people, and it's usually really strong-minded people, could be men or women, but they're just really strong-minded. You know, it's a scam. And then you just ask, well, what specifically about it? Because you've read the agreement that you signed up for, right? So what is it that we're not doing that we promised to do? And there's never been an answer to that. You know, if we were a scam, we wouldn't be allowed to continue to operate. And I can tell you, we've been investigated by just about everyone because we've grown so quickly. We work with so many clients. We generate a lot of income. We pay out a lot of commissions. So, you know, we've been looked at. If there's something that we shouldn't be doing, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't be doing YouTube videos every day talking to the world about what we do. We post the damn things, right? We don't put passwords on them. So it's interesting. It's usually someone that's uninformed. So let's face it. Intelligence falls on a bell curve, right? Remember in school, we learned the bell curve. So most people are in the middle. I know personally, I'm right there in the middle. I'm average. You may be smarter than average. But most people think they're smarter than what they are. So, and we know at least half the people fall to the left-hand side of the bell curve. Unfortunately, those people often don't realize they're on the left-hand side of the bell curve. And so through a lack of intellect, experience, education, or what have you, they'll shoot from the hip and say things that are wrong, sometimes illogical, but wrong. So, I mean, if there's anything that any of you, we've got almost a full Zoom today. If there's anything that any of you feel that could be considered a scam, let's address that. Let's be transparent. Let's talk about anything, because we have written agreements. Now, granted, if you're a white label partner, your contract with your client is between you and them. And if you're using our standard template, then we know what you're promising. But if you change that up, then I don't know. The lady yesterday that was just going berserk was a white label client. So in other words, she was referred in by a white label partner. And so she complained to the white label partner. He notified me, and I immediately called her and emailed her and said, let's discuss whatever your concerns is. What is it that makes this a scam? And I also asked her, can you please email me? I also asked the white label partner, can you email me the agreement you signed? Because maybe that's where the disconnect is. I don't know if that white label partner changed the terms. And so now there's a disconnect between what the client's getting and what the white label partner offered. But I know that we strive to do exactly what we promised to do, and we do that in writing. For our direct clients, and frankly, for all of you too. So for our referral partners, whether you be an affiliate, white label partner, or for our directly contracted clients, we say, you know what, if we don't do everything that we're supposed to do, then let's resolve it. We have what's called arbitration. That's where both parties sits down, explains the two sides, and the third party arbitrator decides it. Do you know how many arbitration cases that we've ever lost? 0. Do you know how many arbitration cases that have ever been filed against us? 0. So I'm not saying that people can't get frustrated, often out of their own ignorance, but anyone that's either an affiliate or a white label partner or a direct client, because again, if they're a white label client, that's between the partner and them. I don't know what they've agreed to, but we have a remedy, and no one's ever thought that we were far enough off of what we promised to do to even say, well, let's sit down with an arbitrator. So if there's anything that any of you feel that what we do could be even loosely referred to as a scam. Let's go through that this morning because we need to address it, and maybe we need to do something different, but most likely it's an issue of education or understanding. Also on that point, when we get to agreements, it was in the Wall Street Journal. I was 2 days late reading the Wall Street Journals yesterday, so I don't remember now if it was in Thursday or Wednesday's Wall Street Journal of this week because I read them both last night. But it's talking about terms and conditions. And within terms and conditions, the article had to do about airlines. So when you book a flight on an airline, no matter which airline it is, you're agreeing to some terms and conditions. Chances are none of you, including me, chances are none of us ever have read the terms and conditions when we booked a flight on American, United, Delta, Southwest, or any other. But there are terms and conditions that determine how do we get our money back, what qualifies for a refund, all of that. Well, almost every transaction has terms and conditions or agreements, and it should be in writing and it should be understood by the reasonable person. That's how the courts would interpret it. We have a very easy to understand agreement, but it's the point that Pauline is making, and I'll read verbatim. She's saying that she feels like that some of her clients or leads are not reading the contract, and so then they have unrealistic expectations because they're making up their own rules of how the program should work. And that can happen. And so what can you do about that? You can make sure, especially if you're a white label partner, and I know Pauline is, and she does that, but for any of you, if you're a white label partner, please don't do oral agreements with your clients. Those are binding, but those are much more subject to disagreement because they're thinking something different than what you said, and it's kind of hard to go back unless you recorded everything. But instead, if you use the template that we provide you, and let me pull that back up here. That's why I had this screen pulled up. So if we go on the white label page, we've provided you template agreements, and you don't have to use these between you and your client, but these are editable Word documents. And so really all you can do is get the client a written agreement, answer their questions, and then at some point they need to be held responsible to do what they said that they would do, and same for you and for us. We had a 3-hour session on Wednesday with a contract law attorney, and it was talking about just anything that we can do to make sure that the contracts are clear and concise, and how courts rule them. And courts typically will say, well, if it's in the agreement, then you need to follow that. That's why we have written agreements. And it's just surprising how some clients will either not read the agreement, which we don't want them to do. We want them to understand what we're promising to do and what their promises are. Or some of them just think, oh, that doesn't apply to me. And then all of a sudden they find themselves with a collection agency, or we sell their debt to a debt collector, or we sue them, and then they're like upset with us. It's like, well, you made the promise that you didn't keep. We asked you to keep the promise. We offered to work with you. So, okay, we'll keep moving on. So right now we're on this last bullet of addressing any other issues that you may face regarding any objections. Okay, so I think we covered Pauline's, and Pauline was essentially saying she thinks that some of her clients aren't reading the agreements. They come in with unrealistic expectations, and then all of a sudden we can't meet their unrealistic expectations. Well, if they made up their own rules, then I don't know how we could be accountable for that. But Pauline, and those of you that are white label partners, again, you have the editable form, so you can make the changes that you want to make it stronger or clearer or whatever you think needs to be done for these agreements. All right, so negativity. So you're right, William, and so when people get frustrated, like, and I don't want to be too personal because it's pending litigation, we're suing this gentleman, but we got a guy out of Florida, and he's a reputable guy, and he runs a big nonprofit, but he signed up, and then all of a sudden he just changed his mind and just thought, oh, this doesn't apply to me anymore. And that's not the way that contracts work. And so then he takes kind of the scorched earth approach, go complain to everyone. And so all we can say is, well, we have an agreement with the gentleman and we're willing to follow the agreement. We believe we are following the agreement. We ask the client to follow the agreement. And if the client doesn't feel that we're following the agreement, we've agreed to binding arbitration, and he is welcome to file arbitration, and we'll resolve it professionally and independently. But William, what you know is that a lot of people aren't very compliant. And so instead of resolving issues the way that they promised to do so, and so that's interesting. Anytime that you see a negative posting, that is an example of that client breaching the agreement, because the agreement says you won't go scorch the earth. If you're not 100% satisfied, we'll sit down with an arbitrator and resolve it. So that's the beauty of the white label model, William, is that you'll go out under your umbrella. We're kind of the vendor. So you're the pizzeria, and you're making the pizzas the way you want to make them. If you want to do a mixture of cheese, or if you want to make all pepperoni or cheese, however you want to make your pizzas, William, you make it. We're kind of the supplier. You place orders with us for the supplies, and then we provide the back office part. And so you're welcome to go out to the marketplace under your umbrella and establish your branding and your credibility as you would like. And we get clients funded all the time, but we're just not going to, and I guess it's because of the SBA background I come from, we don't talk about clients' personal information, negative, positive, or what have you. And so, but if as a white label partner, William, if you want to go out and get an authorization from every one of your clients every time they get funding, and you have permission to put it up on your website, that's great. That's the beauty, William, of being a white label partner. You can run with it however you want. You control the client relationship. All right, so let's move on to the next. All right. So I don't think I have any other unanswered complaints or objections. So I'll go through again what I typically see or hear from you. And if there's anything else you want me to hit on, let me know. So our agreements in writing, what we promise to do is in writing. If you're a white label partner, I realize that you may be changing that, but assuming that you're not, then we're all following the same recipe. And so with that, the interest rates that a client gets is going to be reflective of what they qualify for. And we can help them continue to improve their fundability so they have access to more capital at better rates through the 3 C's, what we've talked about. But in the beginning, for their first tranche of financing, it's whatever baggage they bring to the table. If they don't like the first tranche financing offer, they do not have to accept it. If they don't like the number of payments, if they don't like the interest rate, whatever, if they don't like it, they do not have to accept it. But they do need to pay the refundable deposit, right? Because the agreement says, hey, we'll arrange financing for your first tranche of financing, for your refundable deposit. We won't invoice you for the refundable deposit until the first round of financing has been arranged. But we can't promise them that their first tranche of financing will be $78,500 at 0%. If that's what they qualify and that's what's available in the market, great, that's what they'll get. But if they don't qualify for that, they're going to get what they qualify for. And what you as a white label partner just need to be crystal clear is once you submitted a client here, this is an order form, right? This is an order form. Now you're responsible to us, and it says that you're going to collect whatever refundable deposit you want from them, but we know we're booking on our system that we're going to get at least $1,250. So what does that mean? So if you charge them a $3,000 refundable deposit, we split that 50-50. You keep 1,500, we get 1,500. If you do the normal 2,500, then you keep 1,250, we get 1,250. If you charge them 1,250 for a refundable deposit, then you get zero because you've agreed to pay us a minimum of 1,250. That's because we've got to pay the people and pay for the overhead to do the work that we're promising to do when you submit a client order. So don't fall into the trap of submitting people here and then just letting them fall off. Because if they do nothing, your bill still exists. If you order a tube or whatever it's called of pepperoni, you can go give free pizzas away all day long, but you still have to pay for the pepperoni. Now, if the client's giving you a hard time and not participating and not paying, then we'll work with you to resolve that with the client. The client may need to go to collections. The client may need to be sold to a debt buyer. The client may need to go to court, whatever. I mean, so we're not going to put you where you're in an upside down position, but there's a couple of you, and you know who you are, where you're not collecting the money from the client. Well, you're placing orders. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing, but you're just giving away the pizzas. And that doesn't mean that the supplier doesn't have to be paid. Okay, so William has another one. One other thing, please, he says, can they determine from the start the maximum amount of capital raise, or do they have to accept and agree to the minimum 100,000? Well, as a white label partner, William, you are in control of that. So you have access to 2 editable agreements, William. The only difference is the access to capital, which is primarily what we do, is where we defer the refundable deposit until after the first tranche. In contrast, the capital ready, you collect it up front. So the point is, you have access to the agreements. They're Word documents. These are the agreements between you, William, and or your business with your white label client. You can set the terms to whatever you want. But just keep in mind, whatever you do here, if you go guarantee them $1 million, that doesn't change our agreement with you. Now, if you want them to have $1 million guarantee, we'll fulfill that. We'll continue to work with the client until they get to $1 million. But if you're making other changes, whatever it may be, that's between you and the client. That doesn't change our agreement with you. All right. So Warren, thank you, William. Warren asks, for the guaranteed $100,000 capital raise minimum, are there specific named lenders like Chase or Wells Fargo, he states, that you usually work with, or does it depend upon the unique circumstances of the client? Well, so what happens, Warren, is you enroll the client, submit the client as a white label partner, and we get them the funding proposal via Adobe. They fill that out. It comes back. We see what offers they have. We communicate that to you. Client gets funded. You collect the $2,500 from them or whatever you set the deposit as, then we build the loan package. So to get to Warren's question, so it's the result of the loan package that's going to give us guidance of where we should go get the capital from. Because maybe they want money to buy an office building, or maybe they want money to buy office equipment, or maybe they want money to just get working capital. Those are 3 distinct categories, right? The first is real estate. So there's different types of lenders that focus on real estate. The second example I gave you was equipment financing. So that's different. And then the third is just pure working capital. So I would never, Warren, go out to the marketplace and say, oh, we're going to get you a Wells Fargo loan. And I know you're not suggesting that, but we don't know what type of capital structure they qualify for, nor do we know when they first enroll where we're going to pursue that capital with. Now, we'll coordinate with you and make sure we're on the same page, but I wouldn't go out and name drop specific lenders, because I think then clients could feel deceived that you have made specific expectations that may not be consistent with their circumstance. And I don't think you have to oversell it. What we do, the beauty of it is it's so good and it's so valuable. We don't need to oversell it. We don't need to make set expectations that we can't meet. No one else does what you and I do. And we guarantee the outcome. And if they're not 100% satisfied, we have a dispute remedy that frankly, no one has ever used, because they can come back and they can say, well, I wish I didn't enroll in the program because I don't really want to stick with it. But I don't know that anyone could say, well, I've enrolled in the program and they're not doing what they said they would do. Because if we weren't doing what we said we would do, they would either sue us or they would file arbitration. And it's not happening because we do what we say that we'll do. All right, Pete asked, and I think this will be our last question for today. Pete says, if a client is focused on real estate funding, how do we calculate or collect the fee for the performance fee? So that's good. So what you want to always do, Pete, of course, is be familiar with your agreement. But the way that the agreement reads is that when they enroll in the program, all types of capital raise is applicable to the performance fee. So we'll just use 100,000 as a simple example. So if they got 100,000 to buy an office building, the same performance fee applies if they got 100,000 of working capital. So that's the way the standard agreement is written. Now, if you're changing that, then again, I don't know what you're changing it to, but from a standard language perspective, I think it's very well stated in the agreements. All right, so in summary, we will be out of the office. Our offices will be closed on Monday and Tuesday, the 11th and 12th. No, nothing's wrong. This has been planned for quite a while. We have our annual staff training. This year, we're doing it in Arizona. Thought it might be a little cooler this time of year there, but nonetheless, we will all be out of the office. Phones will be answered because we use a third-party service, so that'll be fine. But just realize processing won't occur until Wednesday. Then we'll get caught up next week. It won't be a big deal at all, but just to make sure everyone's aware. We talked about overcoming objections. We talked about a few of these examples, as well as anything else that you all threw out there. And then again, we'll resume our daily Zoom trainings next Wednesday as normal. So thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again next Wednesday. That would be the 13th. Bye-bye.